When people think of turning 16, they envision getting their permit and finally learning to drive. I know I was at the DMV the day I turned 16, ready to receive that piece of paper saying it's okay for me to be behind the wheel. Now, this isn't a speech about the glory of being able to drive. I don't think many people need to be convinced of that. Instead, I'm going to talk about the other big step that happens when most people turn 16. They start looking for their first jobs. I believe it's just as important to learn to drive as to getting, I think it's just as important to get a job as it is to learn to drive. I think every teenager when of age should be looking for their job, not just to make money, though that is a perk, but to learn valuable skills. Now you might think, what can working at a grocery store or in fast food teach me about more sophisticated jobs? Through my experience and the research that I've done, a lot can be learned through those first jobs. Filling up a bag with fries isn't the only skill you're going to walk away with. I didn't actually find a job till about 5 months after my 16th birthday. Finding a job isn't easy, but it's definitely worth it. The idea of having my own money was such an amazing thought to me. I didn't really think that when I started working at Dunkin' Donuts, that it was going to teach me too much. And that's why I did work for 2 years of my life. And over those points, I collected a name tag and some pins that basically meant I was a good employee, and I think I might have gotten those instead of pay raises, but that's another speech topic. Okay. Working at Dunkin' was just like you'd think a job in fast food was. It was stressful, fast-paced, and you came home smelling like the food. I know that seems so far like things you could live without, but let me give you some examples of things I encountered over my span of working there. Like I mentioned before, it's a fast-paced job. The customers want to get in and out, and they have no issue showing or telling you that they're not happy. And basically, you have to learn to manage your time well. Say I had 3 drink orders to complete. Figure out which one's the quickest to make, who ordered first, and what you can do why say one is ruined. And there's a bunch of other questions you can ask yourself to help you get that order and rhythm down, to keep your customer and your boss happy. When you're working in an office, this skill is going to be just as important. You're going to have customers that are probably buying more expensive and important things than cups of coffee. It's pretty impressive, I say, to show your boss that you can keep up with your work and not drag your department or any other departments behind. Now back to more customers. This might be your first experience with strangers not really being happy with you. You either let it get to you or you learn to handle the situation and have them leave the store satisfied. I won't lie, it's really not that fun to have people you don't even know questioning your intelligence. That's a part I could have done without. What I walked away with is the ability to listen and just fix it when I can. The second you know how to solve the problem, do it. You don't want to drag it out into something that it's not. It's really bad when you know you're not in the wrong, but sometimes your boss just isn't going to care. One of my favorite stories, for example, is during one winter, a customer ordered 4 hot coffees. The person after her ordered 4 hot chocolates. They all happened to be the same size. Obviously, because of when it was ordered, the coffee order was finished first, but the person who ordered the hot chocolates ended up grabbing that. When the person who ordered the coffees was wondering what was taking so long, we realized what had happened. The person had already walked away with who wanted the hot chocolate, so we just kind of laughed it off and we forgot about it because a few hours went by. But eventually she came back, when the lady who realized that they weren't her hot chocolates, and she was livid. Unfortunately, most signs did point to her that it was her fault, but there's nothing that we could do about it. You can't be sarcastic, you can't talk down, you have to make it up to her. And that story is up there with one of my hardest customer experiences, but I gained knowledge of how to deal in that situation. If you're in customer service and the company depends on you to keep customers happy, that's your job to do that. Even salespeople, or say you're only experiencing people through the phone, you're going to have to learn to work with all different types of people, especially when they're difficult. And it all starts at your first job. Your boss in your job after college isn't going to like you not having people skills and getting into arguments. The last skill I believe is important is a little like dealing with customers, but now you're dealing with your coworkers. They're a little different because you deal with them all day and however many times a week you work. Now I've had some really great coworkers when I worked there who ended up being friends. This picture is actually all of us at senior ball, and it's hanging up in our workroom at the Dunkin' Donuts still. But there was always those few people. I had difficult ones, people who kind of scared me, and the lazy ones. But I'm not the boss. I can't get rid of them. And I'm 100% sure that at any job, there's going to be people you don't see eye to eye with. It's not high school, and you can't talk about them behind your back. need to learn to work with those people. And say you could be on projects with them or be working in the same kind of area as them. So you just really need to learn to work along. Now, as I said, I worked at Dunkin' for 2 years, but once I was in college, I got a new job on campus. Since I live so close, I happily accepted to work there over the summer. This job was a lot different than working in fast food. It was more of an internship. I made copies, I filed stuff, and I answered phones. The only thing that stayed the same were I used the same skills that I used at Dunkin' Donuts. My boss would give me a task to complete before I left, and I'd fax something to another company. Say I just got behind. Not only does that affect the office I was in, but another department. So it definitely needed my time management skills there. I would also answer the phone, and I would get a lot of questions from parents. And I had to use my customer service skills here because as an employee of Siena, I was representing the college, and parents don't want to call and have someone mean on the phone of the school that their kids are going to go to. And all these skills that I learned, I can relate back to my Dunkin' Donuts days. I think my learning curve would have been a lot greater if I hadn't learned from there. And the older you get, the more people are going to expect you to know. Now, you don't have to just take my word for it. I also consider internships to be just as meaningful. I thought it would be important to mention them because we're a little past the age of first jobs. Not that it's too late to ever start working somewhere over the summer, but internships might be more relevant. Okay. According to the National Association of Colleges and Employers, new college graduates who had participated in internships did far better in the job market than their classmates who did not have that experience. Also, according to NACE, responding employers indicated that 31% of their new employees came from own internship programs and 62% had internship experience of some kind. So that's basically saying that even if you had an internship in something totally completely not the same job, employers are still going to look at that, be pretty impressed because they know that you're going to have skills that are going to help you out. And those internships are kind of just like those first jobs. They're not the greatest work, but you're gaining those skills. And as you can see, future employers want you to take those internships. Some of them, your bosses or your supervisors, aren't going to want to teach you what they consider to be the basics. I realize some people might think I'm over-exaggerating the experience I received, but I have personally experienced the payoff, and I know it just wasn't a unique experience. Also, you can't fight the facts. Employers want people with background experience. Overall, I hope people realize that it's not all about the money. Of course, it's a perk, but I'm proud of both the money I earned and the skills since I've been 16. I don't believe I would have been just as confident at my job at Siena if I hadn't had that background knowledge. And in many years later, say in an internship or when I go on to a future job, I'm sure that I'm going to be really glad that I learned those skills early too. In conclusion, I hope I leave you with a bit of a push to look into a job or an internship over the summer if you hadn't already, and if you already work, to remind you of the benefits and the payoffs that will hold in your future. Any questions?
Okay, again. What office do you work for on the Siena campus?
Well, I work at the St. Card office, but during the summer I work there in business affairs.
Okay. And you're relating a lot to people via telephone, is that what it is?
Yeah, mostly at the St. Card you get a lot of questions from parents about like meal plans or the money that goes on their St. Card and stuff. Or sometimes people, instead of calling information, will call there instead, so you have kind of random questions as well.
And do you find that to be enjoyable?
I liked it, yeah. I mean, I think just because like since I knew what I was talking about on the phone, it got easier the more information that I learned. And I definitely enjoyed working that better than like filing things away.
That's good. You learn what you like and what you don't like
Yeah.
sometimes too. You know, it makes a nice difference. Thank you.